Well, Bryan, it is so great to have you join us on Extraordinary Women Radio today. You are the inaugural male to join us here, and I can't think of anybody I'd rather have be join us in that role. So, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be an inaugural male on what's needed more in the world. Is conversations between
Yes.
everybody to talk
Yes.
about what's possible on, in an equality, whatever you want to call it kind of way. So I'm so stoked to be a part of that conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you have been just such an inspiration to me for so many years, and I love the way you bring really rich conversations to our world,
Mm-hmm.
and you're always at the forefront of conversations around leadership, around marketing, around how we just show up as humans. So um, you're just a real big inspiration to me. So I'm just really honored to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
So
you.
you
We're in the mutual admiration club.
good. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, so you are the founder of the H2H movement, human to human. And so tell us a little bit about where that came from, what it stands for, what it means to you. Just give us
Sure.
some of that story.
Yeah, I have a silent but not silent co-founder, and my wife Courtney
Yes.
Smith Kramer, and she helped edit the book together and is a major influence as well. Loves to speak about it, and what it means is something different actually than what I meant it to mean. Actually, it's changing every year, maybe even every week at this point. This year, it feels like is a massive change of what it means, where we are separated from each other, and here we crave humans being with other humans. So it's kind of interesting seeing how everything's changed since I first wrote it, spoke about it 5 years ago. It wasn't the first time I spoke about it. I'd been speaking about it. We'd been speaking about it at the agency for 10 years before that. It's just the time when it's kind of like that iceberg, like you see like all this stuff underneath, but what everybody else sees is this thing just took off over days. But
Right.
it was years in the making that we were working toward and trying to speak about human design and humanity and how it shows up in, especially at that time we were in the marketing world, so it was how does that show up in design and websites and customer experience and all those good things that we all talk about. Then social media hit, and that's when I think it became more notable because it was this new brand new shiny penny where people could reach out and talk to each other, and you could talk to people around the world, and you could have conversations with people inside of companies, and so customers were talking to employees of companies, and that was the first time that brands weren't just shouting out or using their voice on marketing material or in ads. It was actual conversations taking place from inside companies to outside, where we all struggled with this thing of who's going to talk, what can we say, what can be done. Like these were the conversations we had when social media first came out. So that's why I think H2H was so prevalent at the time, because it was like, wow, we have this really new cool global community platform on all these different social networks. And when I talked about that there's no B2B, B2C, or B2C, it's H2H Human to Human on stage at Bloomberg West in San Francisco. Ted Rubin was the MC of that event, and he asked me to go back one slide, and because he was astounded at what was on behind me, and that then spurred him and pretty much the audience of social media and executives at rather large companies, enough that I think it helped to propel it into the atmosphere, because then they took a picture, which that picture is kind of floating around on the internet, and
So what was the picture?
it was my slide of it's basically the cover to my book.
Okay.
There's no B2B or B2C, it's H2H, human to human,
Okay.
up
So
on the
that's where you were
slide.
making that
And
claim.
I was like doing this weird, I don't know why, but I did this like weird lean into the slide. Maybe I was trying to be funny.
And so you were physically moving into the slide.
I was physically moving into the slide, and everyone was taking pictures, and it got posted and had over 120 million impressions over the next 48 hours.
Oh my
And
God.
we're like, wow, okay, I guess this is happening.
It's one of those drop the mic things, moments when people are like, we have, as marketers, we have had this B2B, B2C ingrained in us for so many years. And there's this mic drop, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I had a lot of people, it was you were on either side. So either you loved me because you believed always, yes, it was always about H to H. Of course, or certain people saying, duh. And then I had people on the other side of the aisle saying, what are you talking about? There's B2B, there's B2C. That's it's not H to H. There's a difference between consumer and business. Of course,
and it's probably because they were kind of entrenched in one or the other of those pathways, right? It was like they were probably, very proud of that pathway that they had been entrenched in and put an identity around.
That's exactly right. And the thing is that I wasn't trying to take that away from them. There's processes inside of companies that's different on each side. But the fact that employees now of any company in B2B or any company in B2C could now talk to anyone on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, that changes the game. And so that's all I was trying to say is the external communication has really now changed the game to how we actually communicate. It's no longer about radio, TV, and billboards. Right. This is much bigger than that. Right. Now, fast forward to, so that's why we wrote the book. And we actually wrote the book in 4 days because I had all of my content from 2 years before this happened. Thank God, all of my blogs, every blog was about this, almost, maybe like 99%. And so it just unfolded in front of me. And when this hit, it was like, we looked at all my content and went, we can just write a book and we can self-publish it and put it out, because there's no way a publisher can get it out in in a week or 2 weeks. They would take 6 to 12 months, if that. Right. And so we did. And again, thank God for Courtney. She helped stitch together all of my blogs and my writing and everything. Henry was at school and Emerson was at school, and we canceled everything that week and we just went to town on it.
And Courtney is such an amazing, she sees words and connections, and I mean, she's so talented at that. And I'll just, toss out, so many of my listeners know me in the realm of raise up, right? Raise up your voice, raise up your vision, raise up your visibility, raise up your business. I mean, that's a core part of my message. And just so everybody listening, Courtney was the brainchild of Raise Up in a session that I was with Bryan and Courtney on, I don't know, probably 3 years ago.
Wow.
Actually, no, it was 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago that we were on that call. And Courtney came up with the Raise Up, and that's been an intricate part of my brand. So Courtney is just brilliant in that realm of being able to, find that core message and be able to build off of that.
Totally. Yeah. And it really helped because we were able to partner together on something that we needed to get out fairly quickly.
That's amazing.
We felt like if we didn't do that, then there are a lot of people popping up saying, well, I say that all the time, or I defined that 4 years ago, or I did this, or I did that. And we're like, a friend of ours actually came to us and he said, you really need to get this out pretty quickly if you want to actually you brought it out, now define it. And so we did. And that was, and it was really kind of a fascinating process then, because my personal brand had been, I've been working on it for the previous 2 years. And so the combination of like building your personal brand, having the right message, and then having the right medium to say it was the perfect combination of all this triad of things that came together for the book to actually do well.
At a time too, when social media just like went off the charts on how it played in the game of marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was amazing. And I was writing my other book at the time and I set that aside. I was like, this is not going to, Shareology is not going to happen right now. So, because H2H was such a nice surprise baby that I was like, okay, this is going to take a back seat. And so I took another year to write Shareology, which was not done in 4 days. And so that was a much more in-depth book, and one that I'm really also just as equally proud of. But it ended up being the extension of H2H, because it's what, how, when, and why humans and brands share in a human way. And so it's all about it. H2H is the why, and then shareology is the how.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Now, when we first started, you said that, now is a really relevant time for H2H, as evolution over these past 5 years has taken place. Why is it so important right now?
You're getting me revved up. So now I'm going to go to my standing desk. Assume the standing position.
Yes. Take the platform, man.
So, God, I love talking with you. So I think, why is it relevant now, and what does it mean now? So let me just take a quick step back. Over the last few years, it's changed because social media changed. It then became kind of the norm, and then all of a sudden it became about automation and like, how can we automate all this stuff? Automate email, automate bots, automate automate our social media posts. Like, how do we automate stuff? And so then the question became, what's personal, what's human, and what's not? And then it's starting to now shift into augmented reality, virtual reality. And these are just getting started. Like, oh, this is going to change. Like artificial intelligence and machine learning and like all this other stuff that's still coming. And so what does that mean for humanity? And then it's like, wait a second, hold my beer. Let's have a pandemic. And then what does that mean to humanity?
Right.
Right. So it's like we keep getting redefined as humans. Like, here we are stuck in our homes, locked down, and can't have the one thing. And I say the one thing because I did research in my second book, Shareology, with over 250 individuals of all walks of life, took all of the transcripts, put it into a word cloud. And the number one reason for why people share is because of connection.
Yeah.
Connection is our deepest desire. And when you take connection away in a pandemic, what does it do to humans? It
makes people crazy.
Us.
Yeah.
It makes us have anxiety and suppresses us, and it does all kinds of things to our stress, our bodies, and yet we're okay. We're okay. We're going to be okay.
Right.
And yet that is the lack of that's the new definition of what we need for H2H. So human to Zoom to human, maybe the new
add the Z in there. Yeah, it's you think about Zoom being so important to us right now. I mean, it's if this would have happened, I've had this conversation recently. If this pandemic would have happened 5 years ago, we would not have been equipped as human beings to be able to connect the way that we can today. Does it make up for the face-to-face? No, we're all starving for that face-to-face, but man, it sure helps, right? To be able to have, family Zoom meetings, or, it's just different ways that we can connect with people that, and frankly, I some of my family I'm connecting with on a deeper level right now because we're having regular Zoom meetings that we weren't doing those phone calls, a year ago. So, there's some things that are kind of shifting through this that's opening up for us.
Totally. Yeah. It's beautiful in so many ways.
Yes.
And I changed my word this year. It was 2 words. Going into this year, it was be present. We are all present now. So I don't think it's kind of hard to do that. And so I changed my words to surrender, because now we just learned as we finally learned, maybe, I think the Buddhists are saying, welcome, we've been missing you. But when you surrender to what is, then it becomes easier.
And don't fight it.
When you're pushing up against it, it stresses you out and it's harder. So I'm really working hard at that.
It's funny. I chose not to do a word this year. I actually chose a song. And so I chose the Eagles' Peaceful, Easy Feeling. And when I reflected on that, many months later, it was like, well, that is like the best thing I could be practicing all of this year, is to find that peaceful, easy feeling in the midst of a pandemic, right? So it's like, because you're exactly right. You can't push up against it. You can't, it doesn't serve us. And it doesn't, it's like so easy to get riled into, so many things right now that we can get really riled up about. Yeah. And frankly, I don't show up as my best when I get caught into a story that gets me spinning in my mind. So that's been my best learning of this year, is to really, step back into that peaceful, easy feeling. And how do I serve with that? Right. I mean, how do I serve from that place and help my community? And I think I love the word connection, that, that showed up so strongly for you in that word cloud. And it's funny. I mean, that's why you and I connect at such a great level, because that is such an intricate part of my world. This my Extraordinary Women Connect is about connecting people. And that's, I'm always saying I need to connect this great person to that great person. And so that whole connection thing is really, really, really amazing. Oh, this is so much fun. So what is your hope for our world on the other side of all of this?
That we don't forget. I really hope we don't forget, because I think there's so much that I've learned, that we've learned through this process. And, we tend to romanticize things 5 years later and 10 years later on one end. And on the other, we tend to forget and go back to old ways and old habits and old patterns. And I think it's created a really rich place for us to realize that we can operate remotely and still be in connection, and in a lot of ways that being in solitude is okay. It's not the same thing as loneliness. And that we can embrace solitude as a place of comfort. That there are so many ways that we can help make other people feel good without having to, and I'm not saying that I don't want to ever travel again or go celebrate somebody's birthday at a birthday party, but like you were saying before, normally a person who has a birthday has, 10, 20, 30 phone calls, emails, birthday cards, whatever. And now they have one big Zoom call with 20, 30 people. And that just makes me and everybody else, I think, feel a little more special than normal. Right. So we've just discovered all these like nuances of cool things. And I really hope they live on and keep going. And then on the work side, on the commercial side, I feel like they lost control over employees working in an office space, and so many companies are pushed beyond their comfort zone, right? Because they weren't allowing employees to work remotely.
That's going to change it forever.
And I worry about the commercial real estate industry. Totally. I feel really badly for them, but on the other hand, I feel really glad that this happened for every person to feel like they actually are their own entrepreneurial, like they can discover their inner entrepreneurial side through all of this, and still work for a company and feel like they can walk outside in their backyard or their home or I'm a Libra. I see the other sides of everything. And so then on the flip side, the people who have like kids that are 3 years old and 5 years old, and maybe even all the way up to, 10, right. 12, whatever, where it's just really hard to manage that in a Zoom call. Okay. Right. I'm really, really empathetic towards, those families. So I don't know what to say to that, but on the most part, I really hope we remember the other stuff.
Yeah. And I think that, I think this is going to give us an opportunity for businesses to redefine how their employees work. And, every person, she's had a whole different, I think about back to when my son was, a newborn, and I had to go back to work, and what that was like, commuting to Denver every day and, an hour each way. And my niece is in just such a very different space, and her company is incredible about how they're supporting her and how they're, her leadership team is supporting her and saying, we get this, we stand beside you. And so that shift is really, I think, again, it goes back to it's humanizing the way people work. and
Yeah.
starting to say that, guess what? Every worker is going to be different, and how can we best serve them? And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. And the word that actually you just spoke that means so much to me right now is shift. That
Mm,
people are seeing all these little shifts and making shifts for each person and knowing like you are different than another person, and
right.
we have to treat you individually because you have a different set of circumstances than that person over here. And so there are little tiny shifts happening all across every company versus what the old way of having a handbook and saying come to work every day. I mean
Right.
that unto itself is a massive shift with lots of little shifts inside of itself. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So
Yeah.
what advice would you give us as marketers? I mean, so I know this is your background is so strong in marketing, right? And all the work that you're doing. And right now, as we look at COVID and we look at beyond COVID, this new world that we're going to be in, what do you think we need to be thinking about as marketers right now and as we evolve into the future, the new future?
Um, that question we could do a whole nother podcast on. The I would say that empathy is the biggest place I'd spend most of my time in marketing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if everything's not done with empathy, I think you're going to lose.
Yeah.
I'm seeing emails go out that have no empathy for what anybody's going through. Um, and there's so much in marketing that everyone needs to take a step back and look and pull everything down if they haven't already. I think most brands have. I hope that they've done this and just said, okay, how is the tone for where we're at? How is the message going to resonate for where we are now? And how are we giving not giving away, but giving them what they need for where they are now?
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's an okay time to sell. I would never stop selling right now.
Right.
I think it's the best time actually
To
to start
serve
a new
too.
business and
Right.
start a new endeavor.
Right. And
Every
there's a lot
company
of
that
people that are shifting out of their old roles and having things redefined just by nature of what's happening in our economy. So there's
yeah,
huge opportunity there.
massive. Every company that we've started was in a recession or depression.
Yeah.
And the reason I think it worked is because you have more resources available to you. And I don't mean money. I mean, there's more people willing to help because everybody wants to raise each other up.
Right.
And so in this economy where we're at right now, everyone wants to raise each other up. So why not start something now where we can all raise each other up? There's more help out there than you can ever get now versus when an economy is riding high and everything costs 2, 3, 4 times what it normally is.
Right.
Do it now and get that side hustle into an actual momentous business and really, really go for it.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Love it, love it, love it. So you went through some really big changes, about 5 years ago? Is that where you made big personal shifts?
About 4 years ago, yeah.
About 4 years ago. Tell us a little bit about that time and what prompted the shift and just what's unfolding for you now.
Yeah. Previous to that, Courtney and I had an agency that was then at that point 18 years that we had the agency. The agency had seen all kinds of different changes over 18 years. We were like every 3 to 4 years, the marketing changes. The whole marketing environment changes to something totally different. Right. And we had been a brand agency, a digital agency, a social media agency, an influencer agency, demand gen agency. So we went through every evolution of agencies, and eventually we were at 30 people, and we were a full service agency
in Silicon Valley.
In Silicon Valley, and we had distributed employees throughout the U.S. And we were working with, at that point, larger brands like Netflix and IBM and MasterCard and really cool stuff. And we did some really great brand work and influencer work over the previous few years that really, that combined with H2H, it really kind of blew the agency up. And at the same time, I was traveling because of the book, because of H2H, and then because of Shareology. I was traveling 175 to 200 days a year, giving speeches all over the world. And it was on one level, it was really cool because you were, who doesn't want to be wined and dined and pulled
Have the
into
spotlight.
Yeah, just, as being on stage is just like there's nothing better. It's so thrilling to be up on a stage. And every time I was up on a stage, I loved it. The thing I didn't love was the midnight club sandwiches at a hotel in somewhere else, or the amount of alcohol that I was taking in, or the amount of x-ray machines I would go through, and waiting, and you're alone the whole time. You're not traveling, because we had younger kids, so it was just me. And I'd get a really cool, like, upgraded hotel suite, and it was just me. And I'm like, I just need a bed, really. I mean, thank you. So, and then I'd take Courtney on trips on vacation, and I'd be like, watch this, my points are going to come through, and all we get is like a simple, like, hotel room. And I'm like, no, really, I really get better stuff than this. And she's like, yeah, sure. Okay. So anyway, between all the food and alcohol and travel and trying to run an agency with Courtney back at home base and me from the road, it burned me out. I couldn't handle it anymore. And I remember coming back from one of my trips, and I just said, I can't do it anymore. I'm so burned out. I don't like what I'm doing at all.
Right. And it becomes not fun anymore.
Nothing was fun. It was ironic because everybody on the outside was looking at me going, oh my God, you are living the life. You're speaking everywhere, and your company's doing amazing. And I'm like, I'm not, and I'm burned out, and I'm unhappy. And so she was kind of nearing that same stage, not as close as I was, but still close enough that we both decided that this was a good time to exit the agency. Also, at the same time, we had large brands that were restructuring, and their payment schedules were larger than any agency should be able to manage. And so we weren't getting paid for 6 or 12 months on some really large tickets. And we're like, we're really burned out on that too. So, we're tired of being a bank for our clients and all this good stuff. So we just decided to exit. We did. It took us 6 months to do that. And then I took about 6 to 12 months ish to do nothing. I needed to.
You needed it.
I needed to unwind. Yeah. And then from that point is when we started to do more activities where I could work with people one-on-one, because I really missed that. In the agency world, I was the HR guy. I was the accounting person, and I stopped doing marketing at a certain point, which is what I would love to do.
Right.
And I wanted to get back to that again, but I wanted to do it in a different way, where it wasn't an agency. It was me helping people and individuals actually market themselves. Because there's a lot to be done there for people who want to build their personal brands and market themselves and create their own little companies, or little companies to big companies. And so I poured myself in the next few years into getting certified as a coach, even though I knew I wanted to be a business coach versus a life coach. But I wanted the tools, and I did that. And I went through leadership through CTI, and I did all these things to try and reinvigorate my soul into this new area that was starting to give me my passion back again. I lost about 60 pounds during the process, and went to the doctor, and my diabetes had registered off, meaning I wasn't registering as diabetic anymore. And from that point forward, I was like, I am back. I'm happier, and I'm more living into what I'm meant to do than I've ever been.
Right. So it's totally unfolding into this new space for you, into this next chapter. And it's interesting because Courtney just left CTI now, and now you guys are creating this creation mode.
Yeah. Yeah, we are in a creation mode, and we're really fluid, and we don't really have a lot of we don't have constraints, and we also don't have any uh, we know some of the things that we want to do. One of the things that we love doing is building community.
Yeah.
And so that's part of what our passion is. And I know that that's going to start to unfold through some things that we're going to do. She loves being creative. And so working on creative projects for her is important. So she's taken that on herself. And for me, I love coaching individuals. And so I've taken that on myself over the last 3 years or 4 years. And so, so we're doing things kind of together and separately, and it's
right.
that's new for us, because normally it was just all in on the agency, and I'm really excited by that, because we're both doing little things that we love together and apart.
Right.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And it's just that evolution of finding what's calling to you and listening. And how are you listening through this right now? I mean, how are you being guided through this?
How am I being guided through this?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Tequila, maybe?
Good conversations. And
how am I being guided through this? I follow the hell yeah, or it's a hard no. That's, I mean, that's,
I love that. I totally love that.
It's that simple. I mean, I love talking to people, and people that really get me excited and going, and I can feel that symbiotic energy,
right,
then it's a hell yeah. But if part of that energy isn't there, or I'm not feeling like there's that excitement or passion over something, then I'll shut it down. And I'm really good at saying no. So it's a really big hard no, like no.
Good. That's awesome. That's so awesome. So your H2H community, your H2H leadership community, I have been a part of for about 4 years now. And you do bring the most incredible group of people together. I'm always just blown away by the people I get to meet in your community. And I've actually gotten to become really good friends with several of them. And it's really amazing to see, one, how everybody's evolved and grown over the years that we've all kind of been together in circle, and where everybody's journeys are going. It's just, I feel very blessed to be a part of that inner circle. So, I get excited. Tell people where they can learn more about your communities, and where they can follow you. Just more of that.
Sure. Yeah. If you want to join the community, the free community you're talking about is at H2H. So H number 2H, and then another H. So H2H Hub.com, and that'll take you into the Facebook community. And then if you go to bryankramer.com, then everything else is there. My newsletter, which I as the H2H guy, I have to reply back, right? So everybody that I ask a question normally every week, I didn't this week, but normally I'll ask a question and I get replies, and I'll reply back in video sometimes, or in or just whatever, handwrite an answer back. So you can expect that. And we just launched a new podcast, Humanly Possible.
Oh, that's right.
And so that's exciting. Lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
And all that's on bryankramer.com.
And I am so excited, guys, because Bryan is going to be our keynote at Extraordinary Women Ignite in November 5th through 7th. Super excited to have you come keynote for us. It's going to be, doing this event virtually was a big decision. It's the 6th year of doing this event. And I know I was really excited about having you out to Colorado, and, I was just really excited to have you guys out here.
Yeah.
But this is not the year to make that happen. 2021, right. We can make that happen. So I'm thrilled that you're going to be our keynote on our virtual conference. And so anyway, that's going to be amazing to have you with us.
I don't know if you remember, but I said, I wish men were allowed. I feel FOMO every single year.
Exactly.
and then you reply back and you said, want to be our first guy speaker? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah.
It was great. We were on a joint interview with Ann. And it was just like, that came up, and it was like, wait a minute, do you want to be a speaker there? Oh my God, come please. That would be amazing. So anyway, I'm thrilled that you're going to be there.
Me too.
So The final question I always close with is what 3 pearls of wisdom would you like to leave with our audience today?
Great. Okay, so in H2H, and the thing that I talk about the most is how can you and how can your company be the most human possible? Because when you're most human, people want to connect with you and they're like magnetized into what it is that you're saying and how you're being, authentically speaking. And so those 3 things are simplicity, empathy, and imperfection. And I'll go over and in depth what that actually is because we don't have time here today when I do the keynote. But those 3 things, when you match them up to your content, to your advertising, to your website, to everything that you do, you will push past what most don't understand, which is that other people want to connect with people just like them, that they know, like, and trust. So be simple, be empathetic, and embrace your imperfections, and you'll connect much deeper.
I love that. I love that. And I can't wait to hear all the details behind that.
I can't wait to tell everybody.
Yeah. Well, cool. Bryan, thank you so much for being with me today. And I look forward to having you join us in November. And thank you so much for all you do in the world. It's so inspirational.
Thank you.
Okay. You have a good day.
You too.